Alright, welcome back to Street Scores. It's your boy Rico. I'm just coming with a cool little update on how this Hurricane Irma is going to affect your fantasy team. So for y'all who care about fantasy, this video is for y'all. Just a quick little update. First of all, I want to get it out the way. I hope everybody make it through this Hurricane Irma and this Hurricane Harvey and all of that. It's a lot of crazy going on out there. People evacuating. I know people even in Georgia evacuating out of Savannah, and so just be safe out there, y'all. But to get into this fantasy, the Bucks and the Dolphins were originally supposed to play on Sunday, but that game has now been postponed till week 11, November 19th, which is when both teams happen to have their bye week, so it worked out well. At first, they were looking for other options to see if they could play in other team stadiums, but it just didn't work. I mean, with people evacuating, I don't know how they were going to even try to delay it, because they were also looking for alternatives to see if they could play it another day. But it's a Category 5, and this is the biggest storm in Atlantic history, so there was no postponing this or moving it to a later date anytime soon. It had to be moved to week 11. So, unfortunately, the Miami Dolphins and Tampa Bay Buccaneers will now be forced to play 16 straight games now that their bye week is week 1, which is some crazy mess. I hope they make it through it, because that's a lot to deal with. So for the fantasy implications, just for anybody that does not know, since their bye week is week 1, that means Miami Dolphins and Tampa Bay Buccaneers players will not be playing week 1, and their fantasy points will not count week 1 at all. When they play week 11, that's when they'll count as normal. Unfortunately, if you have Jameis Winston or Jay Cutler as your quarterbacks, or Jacquizz Rodgers, Charles Sims, or Jay Ajayi as your running backs, or Mike Evans, Deshaun Jackson, Devontae Parker, Jarvis Landry, and Kenny Stills as your wide receivers, or if you have Cameron Brate or my boy OJ Howard, fresh out of Alabama. I hate Alabama, but I love him. I bet he's going to do great things in this league. I'm looking forward to it. He's going to steal that starting spot from Cameron Brate any moment now. Or if you have Julius Thomas from the Miami Dolphins, then it's kind of ugly for you right now. I highly doubt any of y'all have their defenses or kickers. And if you do, you're just in bad shape already. You don't even need this video to let you know that. But, you know, if you have these key players, I feel sorry for you, because they're just not playing this week. It's not like the points are going to transfer over from another week or there's any type of excuse. No, if you got a whole bunch of Miami Dolphins or Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you more than likely taking a fat L this week, and that's just how it be, for real though. So good luck out there for everybody who has these fantasy players, especially quarterbacks, because if Jameis is your starting quarterback, you better go to the waiver wire and find somebody. There's people out there in most leagues that's available, like Sam Bradford, Carson Palmer, Carson Wentz, who reliable backup quarterbacks that can fill in for week 1 and probably get you some decent points and win you a game. But if you already had Jay Cutler as your fantasy starting quarterback, you don't need this video to tell you how bad you're doing. Also, Doug Martin's debut has now been pushed back to week 5 because he has 3 more games worth of suspensions to play, and a bye week does not count. So instead of playing week 4, he will now have to wait until week 5 against the New England Patriots rather than the Giants in week 4. So that's basically all of the fantasy news you need right now. I mean, I guess as a tip, if you have Doug Martin on your fantasy team, you got to wait till week 5. So if Jacquizz Rodgers is available, he's a starting running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. He's going to give you great production. He's a bell cow running back. He's going to handle the workload. So he has plenty of opportunity to get you some fantasy points. Probably going to have at least 20, around 25 carries this first game maybe. Yeah, so if you can get your hands on Jacquizz Rodgers, I'm telling you, it's a good move. Last year, the games that he started, he had some pretty decent points. He got 30 carries one game, 26 another, 19 another, a decent little 15, a decent little 17 another game. So you can depend on him to get you some fantasy points coming off the bench. You put him in as a flex or your second running back. I hope he doesn't have to be your running back number 1, but good luck out there for everybody who has Tampa Bay and Miami players on your fantasy team. I know it's an inconvenience, but right now we're just trying to focus on making sure everybody in these, troubling situations in Miami and Houston is making sure they're doing all right. So this is Street Scores. Make sure you tune in for the next episode. I'm out.